we're actually getting ready to take it completely apart. We're going to take the steering knuckle out of it and drop everything out so that way we can get this gimbal ring off. Normally you have to drill a hole in the side or cut this plate out here if it's on the boat. But because we have access, we got two 5/8 inch wrenches going to go in here, and we'll loosen that nut, and the steering pin should drop out. Keyword should. So we'll see that here in a minute. And other than that, we're going to start taking all the shift stuff out, the trim cylinders out, get ready for paint. This is your steering pin. It goes up through the gimbal ring right here into the inside, which the steering arm attaches to. And let me tell you, that was a butt whipping and a half. This is very, very rusty. I'm going to be ordering a stainless steel one from JR Marine. Man, that was really, really tough getting this sucker out of here. Really tough. Not a penetrating oil. I used probably a half can of the penetrating oil. And let me see, 1, 2, 3 screwdrivers. We didn't have a punch to do this correctly. Really, you should probably use a cold chisel or something, but these were small enough to actually get down inside there. And these are the little Harbor Freight, $7 or $8 screwdrivers for a whole pack, so I'm not really worried about it. But what we did is we would get this, you can see, we just got it right down on there. We would hammer it just a little bit at a time. Squirt more penetrating oil in there, hammer a little bit more, squirt more penetrating oil, and it finally came out. Man, that is a whipping. But as you can see, you don't have to drill the holes inside on this transom assembly because you can actually get to everything. So we're going to clean it up and try to get the bottom one off, which is in the very bottom. And it looks like it's got, oh look, it just fell out. Oh nice. I wonder why it did that. Alright, well, I guess we'll pull it the rest of the way out. And you can see I've got a lot of corrosion here. And I need to clean all that up so that way I can shoot some primer on it. I'm going to have to replace all the bushings. The bushings are in really, really bad shape. Especially those on top. There is a bushing, I do believe, right here. I got to push out. Nope, that's actually on the gimbal. Yeah, there's a nylon bushing here. There's another nylon bushing on either side for the wrist pin holders. Now, one thing you got to make sure of is that thing rusted so bad. That little what do you call it? Steering pin that came up through here. I got to make sure and clean this really, really good to there's actually like a little indentation right here that I need to get out and make sure it's nice and clean before we put this back on with the new steering pin. I cannot get the oil pass-through assembly out, which really I don't need to. We'll just clean it up. I'll put a little cap on it. We'll spray it. I'm not going to worry about it. It just isn't coming out. It actually goes through right here, and there's just too much corrosion and stuff like that. So anyway, that's where I am right now. I'm also going to stop at a Home Depot. I'm going to get some more simple green or degreaser stuff to completely scrub all these components really good, get them super clean before we start sanding on them and putting some primer down. So you don't want any grease whenever you're trying to mess around with that. And I'm glad I took this apart, man. I almost put this back together as is, and we'd have had this back apart in a couple years. I don't want to have to do that. This is the upper, or the main part that attaches to the boat. And there's actually a bushing and a seal that goes in here where your steering shaft goes through, and you have to remove that because I'm actually going to, I'm replacing it, and I'll show you those here in a second. So this is the bushing, and that's what I've got out. And it actually was galled up pretty bad from the rust on the steering shaft. And what you do is you take a 1/2 inch, actually it's a 15/16 inch socket, and it is just smaller than this bushing, or it's actually the right exact size. Now they make a tool for doing this, but this works also. And I talked to a guy, matter of fact, from JR Marine that sold me all this stuff. He said just grab this and make it happen. So I put it on the end of a 1/2 inch extension like this, and I put it up in there like that. And then I took another 1/2 inch extension, went through right here, joined them together, and then hit that end with a hammer and went straight up like that, and it pushed the bushing out. And there's also a little seal that goes in there. And I'll take my new bushing and I'll put it in there and I'll tap it in with the same socket. So, and then you want to make sure that you do not get it above this lip inside here. I didn't know how to get it out. I was a little nervous about it, but man, I tell you, a couple of taps and whoop, it popped right out. So, oh, and a big thing is that this little line needs to be to the side, not forward or backward, etc., etc. It needs to be on the side. So, about got all this stuff sanded down and ready for etch prime. But you know, it's kind of been doing here, doing there, all over the place. I've got the gimbal ring sanded down, and all you do is you just do it with Scotch-Brite. I've got the bell housing sanded and ready to go. All I have left is that. Here is the stuff for rebuilding the transom, or the gimbal housing. This is that little seal I was telling you about, and this is the new bushing, and another little stainless steel washer that goes up on top, and this is the new steering. I'll show you the difference. Look at that. Big difference, huh? So yeah, it's ready to go in. It's won't ever rust again. We won't have a problem. And that's from jrmarine.com. It's a couple $100 or something like that. I forget what it was. The OEM one is $358. So ain't cheap whatsoever. Also, you always want to replace your U-bolt. So they got a new U-bolt with new bolts down in there. Wanted to show you guys as I'm rebuilding this gimbal housing. You see, there's my new bushing, and I'm using the 1 inch right there to get it back in. They make a tool for this, but this seems to be working fine. There's a little lip down in here. You want to make sure you do not drive it past. And all I'm doing is just lightly tapping, and then I'm sticking my finger in there, lightly tapping, sticking my finger in more, because you do not want to push it past that little spot. And we are really close. Woo, right? Yep, close. Alright, we are right on it. So that bushing is in. And then you get your little rubber ring. Now, the rubber ring sits right here. Alright? And it has a little spring on one side, and it has the sealed on the other. You always put the spring up. You can see the spring there. And I was told to use red Loctite to hold the sucker in. So we're going to go get some red Loctite, put it in there, and then drop it in there, making sure it's all perfect. But this bushing is the crucial thing. There's also, where the bushing comes together, there's a split. You want that split to the side. And you'll actually see where that split sat in the old, where you take the old one out, and it makes it all perfect. So if you have it frontwards and backwards, apparently it can cause some slop in the steering, so you want it side to side. So I'm going to go get some red Loctite, so that way we can pound that sucker back into place. Okay, got this guy in here. Take her little Alright, I believe it's almost seated. Yep, nice and even all the way around. Well, maybe a little more on. Yeah, there we go. Wipe off the excess. Make sure it didn't get down inside the bushing. You can see Nice pretty new bushing. Now that we have the seal in here, we want to just double check that said steering arm fits in said hole. When it goes in, it should have a little bit of resistance, but it should go in. I mean, it's a tight fit. There it is, it comes out. So I also dried it off. I'm gonna put a little bit of grease on it when I put it in there for the last time, but it fits, we're good. I actually did have to take this back out again because apparently there was a booger on the aluminum that needed to be sanded down. It was causing it to be too small, so it wouldn't slide in. So I pulled everything out, drove the bushing out again, sanded it down or got rid of that little booger, put it back in there, and then this thing slid in. The guy who sold this from JR Marine to me, he said that it should go in with just a little bit of force. See, watch my thumb. I'm just pushing it in. You can kind of feel it slide in really easily. But it shouldn't slide in just super easy because then you know the lip's not working on the seal. So we got it right. It's time to move on to paint. Everything is masked off and ready for its coat of primer. I had to put this one on the workbench because it's too heavy. I'm using coat hangers to hang the gimbal ring and the bell housing, and when I put it up there it just almost jerked it down. So you know what, I don't have to paint anything on the back side. All we're painting is just this front side and the inside of the gimbal, and so it's no big deal. So I've got everything hung up, it's all sanded and ready to go. I'm going to take a little bit of paint thinner on a rag, and I'm going to wipe it down one more time to get rid of any finger oils or grease or something like that. You can use a lot of stuff. You can use naphtha, you can use paint thinner, it's just mineral spirits. It just takes a little while to dry. Wipe it all down and then give it a shot of the self-etching primer, making sure to get all the metal spots, and then we'll let that dry off real good, which won't be too long in this heat. And then we'll mix up some of the black over there with the hardener, let it sit for 30 minutes, and then spray it. All the paint has dried. I hope you can see this. There's the gimbal, and there's the bell housing. Alright, and alright, you're going to have a good view. Just want to set the camera up really good so you can see the spray technique and everything. What I did is I mixed my stuff together in here, wait 30 minutes. I've got my spray gun set to 29 PSI when I'm shooting, and it actually shoots up a little higher, but when you pull the trigger, it drops down. Let's double check our settings. 100 PSI, spray pressure is 29. There we go. We're at 29. So this is kicked for 30 minutes. All this I've just kind of roughed up with my green pad from 3M. And we're going to shut the garage door. I've covered up my outdrive and my engine and stuff that's important in here. The HVLP doesn't send out a whole lot of residue, but we're still going to go ahead and do it. And I'm going to leave the garage just cracked just a little bit to let some of this stuff out. And once it's done, we'll raise the garage door. I just don't want the stuff blowing out on top of my truck or on top of the boat. We want it to settle in here, and then we can just blow it out with the air. Because usually when it's just going around in the air, it's kind of a dry spray. When it settles on stuff, it just blows out. So, all right, let's shut the garage door. It helped if the trash can wasn't in the way. Alright, so now we're going to bring it up about a foot. There we go. I'm going to put on my respirator. We're going to shoot us some paint. Oh. Perfect. Okay, so we got two light coats on right now. Looks pretty good. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. This actually came out a lot better than the drive itself. I also thinned the paint out a whole lot more. And so it's going on nice and just thin and glassy smooth. So I'm going to give this about a 10-minute flash time here. And then come back around and shoot it with another coat. Yeah, this looks good. Nice and smooth is what you're trying to go for. Light coats, not heavy coats because it runs. And we'll just build it up. So that's how I shoot paint. 3 full light coats later, and then 1 wet coat. So I have a total of 4 coats on here. We're done. I'm really happy with the results. I got one little run over here, and that happened after that second coat you saw me to do on the video. But real happy with how everything turned out in here. It looks like it's good and protected. This stuff sprayed on. I really thinned it out a lot more this time, and it really sprayed much nicer. So I've got the gimbal bell housing done. Looks really good, nice and smooth. A little bit of orange peel, but you're going to get that with enamel. It's really tough to get enamel to completely lay flat and have nothing whatsoever. And these things are rough castings. And remember, you're not trying to get super glass, you're trying to get a good protection. So I sprayed all inside there. So you can see now some of the orange peel and some of the sanding marks right in there. But you know what? At 20 foot, you're not going to notice it. We're not trying to, completely sandblast and start over, because you want to try to keep as much of the mark stuff on there for adhesion. And that right there is a feather out from where, right there is where you hit the other stuff. So you could have spent, 30 or 40 more hours and got it, but, like I said, you get to a point where it's just complete overkill, and this looks good. I'm real happy with how this came out. And it's using that farm and implement stuff, so we're going to have to let this dry. The idea is to have it in this weekend. It's Monday right now. As soon as these things are dry enough to move, I'm going to move them out into the driveway and let the sun just bake them just like crazy all week long. And then that way we get, when I start fiddling with these things, I'm not messing around with soft paint. It's taken quite a while for this to completely dry and cure, the out drive, and I let dust and stuff get on it, which was an idiotic thing. And you can still dig, this is the part that I don't care about, you can dig your fingernail in some places, but it is definitely getting harder. So you can imagine what it would have been like without the hardener in it. So anyway, that's it for now. I'm going to go hop in the pool and cool off a little bit and take it easy. The next project is rolling the gel coat inside the hull. I'm going to try to do that, I don't know, probably Saturday morning. I'm not sure what my schedule's like, but definitely going to get that done. I might even be able to do it on Friday, I'm not sure. But like I said, that's the next project, and as soon as that's in there, we can rent the engine hoist, put the engine back in. Shouldn't be too long now, guys.